Hey there and welcome. Today we're going to dive right into Postman and build a really practical, powerful API testing workflow from the ground up. We'll break down all the essentials so you can get started immediately.
You know that feeling? You open up Postman, you see all the buttons and tabs, and you just kind of stare at the screen, not sure where to even begin. If that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. The whole world of API testing can feel a little complicated at first.
But here's the thing, our goal today is super simple. We're going to give you a clear step-by-step path to go from zero to a fully functional workflow. By the end of this, you're going to have the confidence to build and test your own API collections, no problem. Okay, let's kick things off with the absolute fundamentals. At its core, right, an API request is just you asking a server for something. And there are two main ways you can tell it exactly what you're looking for. Think of it like sending a letter. A path parameter, like /users/123, is literally the street address. It's specific, it's required, it tells the API exactly which house you want. A query parameter, though, is like writing, please sort mail by last name on the envelope. It's an optional instruction that helps filter or sort what you get back from that address. Make sense? Okay, so that's how we ask for stuff. But what if you need to send data to the server? Well, for that, you'll be using methods like post or put, and you'll live in the body tab in Postman. There are three main formats you really need to know. All right, first up, and probably the one you'll use the most, is raw JSON. This is pretty much the king of modern APIs. Why? Because it's easy for us humans to read, and it's super simple for computers to understand. You just send a nice, clean payload, and Postman is smart enough to handle setting the right headers for you, which is a huge time saver. Next, we've got form data. The rule here couldn't be simpler. If you need to upload a file, this is your guy. That's it. It sends everything as key-value pairs, and one of those pairs can literally be a file you pick from your computer. And last but not least, x-www-form-urlencoded. Now, you probably won't be using this one every day, but it's crucial to know about, especially for older systems, or, and this is the important one, for certain authentication steps, like when you're grabbing an OAuth token. We'll touch on that in just a second. All right, so we know how to build and send a request. Now, let's talk about two concepts that are going to make your workflow not only secure, but also way more efficient. And those are authentication and variables. Authentication, I mean, you can just think of it as your API keycard. Simple as that. It's how you prove to the server, hey, I'm allowed to be here, and that you have permission to see or change the data you're asking for. Now, you're going to run into a bunch of different types, but the two big ones you'll see all the time are Basic Auth, which is literally just a username and password, and a bearer token. A bearer token is just a long, secret string that acts as your key. It's pretty much the standard for most modern APIs today. Okay, OAuth 2.0. I know, this can look a little intimidating at first glance, right? But honestly, Postman makes it a piece of cake. It really just boils down to these 4 steps. You pick your method, you plug in a couple of URLs and your credentials, and you click a button. Postman does all the heavy lifting in the background and just hands you the token you need. And then there are variables, which are frankly a total game changer for your workflow. The best analogy is the contact list on your phone. Instead of typing out a long URL or a secret token over and over again, you just save it once as a variable, like #base URL, and then you can reuse that shortcut everywhere. But here's a key thing you gotta understand. Scope. Postman has a very clear hierarchy. So if you have a variable named URL in your environment and another one named URL at the global level, the more specific one, the environment one, is always going to win. This is incredibly powerful for things like switching between your development server and your production server. Okay, this next part is super important for security, so listen up. When you create a variable, you see 2 fields, initial and current. The initial value gets synced to the cloud and shared with your team. The current value never leaves your machine. So, for anything sensitive, API keys, passwords, tokens, you always put them in the current value field. That keeps them safe and secure. Okay, enough talk. Theory's great, but let's actually build something. We're going to take everything we've just learned and put it all together to create a real user management collection from scratch. First things first, we'll make a simple GET request to list all the users. And notice right away, we're using our base URL variable, so we don't have to type out the whole thing. Then, over in the Params tab, we can add a key for page and set its value to another variable, page. Super easy to make things dynamic.
Next up, let's create a brand new user. This time it's a post request. So we just hop over to the body tab, make sure raw and JSON are selected, and then we just type in the data for our new user in that simple JSON format. Okay, now for the really cool part, the magic that ties this whole workflow together. In the Tests tab of that Create User request, we can add this one little line of JavaScript. What this does is, after the request is successful, it automatically reaches into the response, grabs the new user's ID, and saves it to a new variable called user ID. This is the secret to chaining requests.
And bam, here's where it all pays off. For our final request, we want to delete the exact user we just created. So we use a delete method, and look, right there in the URL as a path parameter, we use that user ID variable we just captured. Just like that, we're using data from one request to drive the next one. It's awesome.
All right, before I let you go, I want to share a couple of quick pro tips. Trust me, these are going to save you so much headache and debugging time down the line.
If you ever get a 400 bad request error, the very first place you should look is your headers tab. Seriously, 9 times out of 10, it's just a simple mismatch. You're sending JSON, but your content type header says something else. It's an easy fix.
And my last tip, please use the Postman console. It's down at the bottom of the screen, and it's your new best friend for debugging, I promise. It shows you the raw, exact request that was sent with all the variables filled in, all the headers. It's just invaluable when you're trying to figure out what went wrong.
And just like that, you've done it. We've gone from the absolute basics all the way to crafting a dynamic, multi-step workflow. You've learned about parameters, authentication, variables, and even how to chain your requests together. Your first API collection is officially built. So the only real question left is, what are you going to test next?